Fire your entire team by Friday or I'll do it for you, Gemma said, tapping her scarlet fingernails against my desk calendar. Her voice held the flatness of someone discussing weather, not 8 people's livelihoods. I gripped my pen tighter, the plastic creaking in protest. They've exceeded every target this quarter. Numbers on spreadsheets don't matter, Nora. She leaned forward, breath smelling of mint gum. Your little collection of oddballs cost twice what standard teams do. The decisions made. Through the glass walls of my office, I could see my team working. Bree with her headphones, fingers flying across keyboard keys as she coded. Owen sketching product designs, his forehead wrinkled in concentration. Layla talking animatedly on the phone with a client. They need proper notice, I said, keeping my voice steady. At least 2 weeks. Friday. Gemma straightened her cream-colored suit jacket. I've been brought in to streamline operations, and your team is the definition of excess. Handle it yourself, or I'll bring in security to escort them out. Your choice. She strode away, heels clicking against the tile floor. My hands trembled as I opened my desk drawer, touching the stack of thank you cards my team had given me last month when we'd completed the Jasper project. Cards filled with heartfelt messages about belonging and purpose. This team had saved the company when sales plummeted 18 months ago. We'd rebuilt everything from the ground up, while executives panicked in their meetings. Nobody knew because we worked behind the scenes, solving problems others couldn't even identify. That night, I messaged everyone. Green space, 7 p.m. One by one, they arrived at the small park behind our office building. 8 faces, looking to me for answers, trust in their eyes. Our new manager wants you all gone by Friday, I said, watching shock spread across their faces. But the Winton launch is next month, Bree protested. They can't. She says we're too expensive. What about our results? Owen asked quietly. Apparently they don't matter. Layla stood up, arms crossed. So that's it? 3 years of killing ourselves for this company? And we're trash to be thrown out? I twisted the silver ring on my finger, a habit when my thoughts race. I nodded quietly when she told me, what Gemma doesn't know, you're not just my team. If you're wondering what happens next in this wild workplace drama, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I post new stories every week about shocking workplace revelations and the sweetest revenge scenarios you've never imagined. Drop a comment about the worst boss you've ever had. I bet Gemma might give them competition. Now, let me take you deeper into how this all began. My name is Nora Reed. 5 years ago, I joined Monroe Technologies as a project coordinator, basically the person who keeps everyone else on schedule. I was quiet, efficient, and utterly invisible to upper management. What they didn't notice was how I studied everything. Which products succeeded, which failed, how decisions were made, and most importantly, who really made the company work. It wasn't the executives with their fancy titles. It was people scattered throughout departments who solved problems without fanfare. The ones who stayed late without complaint. The ones whose ideas were stolen by managers but who kept creating anyway. When the company faced bankruptcy 18 months ago, panic spread through every department. Sales had dropped 40% in 2 quarters. 3 major clients had jumped to competitors. Layoffs began, starting with the newest employees regardless of talent. I approached the CEO, Hugo Price, with a proposal. Give me 8 people and 6 months to turn things around. No official announcement, no fancy office space, just resources and freedom to work differently. Why should I trust you with this? Hugo had asked, skepticism heavy in his voice. Because everyone else is trying the same solutions that got us here, I replied. We need people who think differently. Reluctantly, he agreed. I selected 8 individuals others had overlooked. Bree, a programmer who spotted patterns nobody else could see. Owen, a designer whose sketches captured emotion, not just function. Layla, a customer service rep who remembered every client conversation. Raj, an accountant who questioned every spending assumption. Tomas, a janitor with engineering skills from his homeland. Donna, a receptionist who spoke 7 languages and read industry reports for fun. Kit, a delivery driver who understood our product failures better than our engineers. Yvette, a cafeteria worker who had 3 patents before emigrating here. We claimed a forgotten storage room as headquarters. While others attended endless crisis meetings, we redesigned products, rebuilt customer relationships, and reimagined how the company operated. Within 6 months, sales stabilized. By 10 months, growth returned. The executives celebrated their bold leadership, while we continued our quiet work, making improvements nobody noticed until they succeeded. Hugo knew what we'd accomplished. He doubled our budget and gave us freedom to choose projects. We became the Special Solutions Initiative, though most employees had no idea we existed. Then came the restructuring. Hugo was pressured by investors to bring in efficiency experts. That's when Gemma arrived. Gemma Wells came with a reputation for cutting costs by eliminating departments. She'd closed entire divisions at 3 different companies, always delivering short-term profit boosts while leaving devastation behind. Her nickname in industry circles was the pruner. Our first meeting should have warned me. So you run this? She paused, glancing at her tablet. Special Solutions Team? What exactly do you solve? We identify problems before they become crises, I explained. Our work on the Winton system prevented a major security breach last quarter. She scrolled through figures. Your team costs $1.2 million annually. That's excessive for support functions. We're not support, we're innovation, and every department claims they're essential, Nora. Her smile never reached her eyes. I need measurable outcomes, not stories. I provided reports detailing our contributions. $14 million in prevented losses, 5 new product features that increased market share, customer retention improvements worth $3 million annually. She set them aside without reading. I'll review these when I have time. For 3 weeks, she shadowed departments, interviewed employees, and examined budgets. She never once spoke with my team members or asked about their work. I watched her building her case against us, searching for evidence to support her predetermined conclusion. The Friday she demanded I fire everyone, I'd already suspected it was coming. What I hadn't expected was the cruelty of the timeline. After my team gathered at the park, I laid out what I knew. Gemma's making cuts everywhere, but we're first because she doesn't understand what we do, I explained. She sees expenses without recognizing value. So we're just supposed to accept this? Layla demanded. After everything we've done? No, I said quietly. We're going to show her exactly who we are. How? Raj asked. She doesn't even acknowledge us when we pass in the hallway. I smiled for the first time that day. Remember how we solved the Trenton distribution problem? By going around the official channels, Owen said slowly. By using relationships instead of protocols. Exactly. I leaned forward. Gemma thinks knowledge flows through organizational charts. She doesn't understand it flows through people. What are you suggesting? Tomas asked. A demonstration of value. But first, we need to appear defeated. For the next 3 days, we followed a careful script. We packed personal items gradually. We transferred project files to shared drives. We trained replacement contacts for urgent matters. To anyone watching, we were resigned to our fate. Gemma observed with obvious satisfaction, stopping by my office Thursday afternoon. I'm pleased you're handling this professionally, she said. Some managers get emotional. I understand business necessities, I replied, placing framed photos in a cardboard box. This is why you'll survive the cuts. You're practical. She tapped her tablet. I've scheduled exit interviews tomorrow at 2 p.m. Security will collect access cards afterward. After she left, I sent one final message to the team. Activation, Blue Protocol. Friday arrived with somber efficiency. My team cleared desks, said goodbyes, attended exit interviews where Gemma explained their termination with rehearsed sympathy. Security collected badges, passwords were changed, email accounts deactivated. By 5 p.m., it was done. 8 talented people were officially no longer employees of Monroe Technologies. Gemma sent me a brief message. Clean execution. Well done. I didn't reply. Instead, I made a phone call. It's time, I said when Hugo answered. Everything proceeded as expected. Are you sure about this, Nora? There's significant risk. I'm certain. Monday's board meeting. Full demonstration. Consider it approved, he said after a moment's hesitation. The weekend stretched endlessly as I prepared. Sunday night, I could barely sleep, my mind racing through possibilities, contingencies, outcomes. By Monday morning, I felt calm in that strange way that comes after passing through intense anxiety. I arrived early, dressed in a deep blue suit I'd never worn to the office before. Gemma was already there, reviewing presentations for the quarterly board meeting. I've included your team's elimination in the efficiency highlights, she informed me. 10% immediate cost reduction is impressive. Thank you for featuring our contribution, I replied, my voice neutral. She glanced at me, perhaps sensing something off in my tone, but was distracted by her ringing phone. At 9 a.m., board members began arriving. 12 men and women in expensive suits filed into the main conference room. greeted by Gemma with practiced charm. "We have significant progress to report," she told them, pointing to seats. "The restructuring is already showing results." I stood quietly at the back of the room, watching. At precisely 9:15, the side door opened. Hugo entered first, followed by 8 familiar faces. My team. Gemma's presentation stalled mid-sentence as confusion crossed her face. "What are they doing here?" she hissed at me. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Because the board members were standing, greeting my team with handshakes, hugs, and warm smiles of recognition. Gemma's polished demeanor cracked as she watched the chairman of the board, Alistair, embrace Tomas like an old friend. "How's Elena doing with her science project?" Alistair asked him. "First place," Tomas beamed. "The scholarship committee interviews next week." Across the room, Victoria, our lead investor, was showing Bree pictures on her phone. "The coding camp was a huge success," Victoria said. 20 girls, all creating their first apps. "They still talk about your workshop." Gemma stepped toward Hugo, her voice tight. "What's happening?" "These people were terminated on Friday." "Were they?" Hugo replied mildly. "I don't recall authorizing that." The board meeting hadn't officially begun, yet the room had transformed into a reunion. Raj and the finance director discussed community garden plans. Kit chatted with 3 board members about weekend fishing results. Donna approached with a tray of coffee. She handed a cup to the eldest board member, Jerome. "1 cream, no sugar, with cinnamon," she said. Jerome squeezed her hand. "Just how I like it. How's that grandson of yours doing at university?" "Top of his engineering class." That recommendation letter opened every door. Each interaction revealed connections I'd never disclosed to Gemma. Relationships built through years of genuine interaction, not corporate networking events. Gemma's gaze darted between faces, mental calculations almost visible behind her eyes. She grabbed my elbow, fingernails digging through my jacket. "You set me up," she whispered furiously. "You knew who they were." I gently removed her hand. "You never asked who they were. You saw expenses on a spreadsheet, not people." Hugo called the meeting to order. My team members didn't leave as Gemma clearly expected. Instead, they took seats interspersed among the board, not clustered together as visitors, but positioned as participants. "Before we begin our quarterly review," Hugo said, "I believe we should address Friday's events." Gemma straightened her spine. "As part of our efficiency initiatives, we eliminated an unnecessary specialty team that was draining resources without measurable return." The room fell silent. Then Jerome chuckled, a dry sound, like autumn leaves. "Unnecessary? You mean the team that saved this company?" Gemma's professional smile faltered. "The financial data clearly showed. Perhaps we should clarify what this team actually does," Hugo interrupted. "Nora, would you introduce the Special Solutions Initiative properly?" I stood, feeling oddly calm. 18 months ago, when we faced potential bankruptcy, I proposed creating a team that worked differently, not bound by traditional department limits. People selected for problem-solving abilities, not credentials. I pointed to each team member as I continued. Bree redesigned our entire security infrastructure after identifying vulnerabilities nobody else spotted. Owen's product redesigns increased user satisfaction by 42%. Layla rebuilt relationships with clients we'd nearly lost. With each achievement I listed, Gemma's expression tightened. She flipped frantically through her tablet, searching for information she'd never bothered to collect. "But these accomplishments aren't in the quarterly reports," she protested. "They are," Raj said, "just not labeled as our work. We solve problems, then hand solutions to the appropriate departments for implementation. Which is why," I continued, "terminating them without consultation was a significant error. The Winton launch next month relies entirely on their work." Alistair leaned forward. "Gemma, did you review the team's actual contributions before making this decision?" "I requested data," she said defensively. "What I received didn't justify their budget." "I provided comprehensive reports," I countered, opening my laptop, "including this email thread where you acknowledged receipt but never discussed the contents." The projector displayed our exchange. My detailed reports attached to multiple messages, her cursory responses without substantive engagement. Victoria frowned. "So you eliminated a team without understanding their function?" "I understood their expense," Gemma insisted. "Efficiency requires difficult decisions. Efficiency without effectiveness is just organized failure," Jerome said, triggering murmurs of agreement around the table. Hugo stood. "Let's be clear about what happened. Gemma terminated 8 people whose work is critical to projects representing 30% of next quarter's projected revenue. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Board members exchanged glances heavy with concern. Fortunately, Hugo continued, Nora alerted me to the situation. Officially, these team members were transferred to special project status directly under board supervision. They never stopped working. Relief rippled through the room, followed by focused attention as Hugo launched into the quarterly presentation. Graphs showed improvement across all metrics, each spike secretly connected to my team's work. Throughout the presentation, Gemma sat rigid, her eyes fixed forward, knuckles white against her tablet. Her carefully constructed narrative of heroic cost-cutting was unraveling with each slide. During a brief break, I stepped into the hallway for water. Gemma followed, confronting me by the cooler. You deliberately undermined me, she said, voice low but intense. No, I gave you multiple opportunities to understand what we do. You chose not to listen. This isn't over. The board may be impressed by your little display of connections, but numbers don't lie. Your team is still overpriced. I filled my cup slowly. That's where you're wrong. The board isn't impressed by connections. They're impressed by results. Results can be reinterpreted, she said with sudden coldness. Reports can be reanalyzed. Something in her tone made me pause. What does that mean? She smiled thinly. It means I've been brought in to make difficult changes, and I won't be deterred by office politics or friendship networks. Before I could respond, we were called back in. The meeting resumed with project reviews, but I couldn't shake the veiled threat in Gemma's words. As presentations continued, I noticed Gemma typing rapidly on her tablet, occasionally glancing toward Hugo with calculation in her eyes. Whatever had happened this morning hadn't defeated her. It had merely changed her strategy. When the meeting ended, board members lingered to chat with my team. Gemma approached Hugo, speaking too quietly for me to hear. His expression remained neutral, but he nodded several times before she departed. What was that about? I asked when I could finally speak with him privately. She's requesting access to all financial data related to your team's projects, he said. Says she needs to conduct a comprehensive analysis. That's reasonable, I admitted, but I don't trust her motives. Neither do I, which is why I'm assigning Raj to assist her. Full transparency, full supervision. I nodded, relieved but still uneasy. Over the next week, a strange calm descended. My team returned to their workspace, continuing projects as before. Gemma retreated to her office, surrounded by spreadsheets and reports. She was polite when we passed in hallways, but offered nothing beyond professional courtesy. On Thursday, Raj reported back after 3 days working with Gemma. She's searching for inefficiencies, he said, pushing his glasses up his nose, but also asking questions about decision processes, approval chains, who signs off on what. Mapping the power structure, I mused. Exactly, and she's particularly interested in the Winton project. The Winton launch was our most ambitious initiative, a complete platform redesign that would either secure our market position for years or fail spectacularly. Every member of my team had contributed critical components. Keep watching, I told Raj. Document everything. That evening, Bree called me with alarming news. Someone's been in our project files, she said. Security logs show access from Gemma's credentials, but examining portions of code nobody but developers should care about. Could she be copying our work? I asked. Worse. Some timestamps have been altered. Small changes to test parameters, modifications to security protocols. My blood ran cold. She's sabotaging the project, creating just enough problems to make it fail at launch. Nothing obvious, nothing traceable. I called an emergency team meeting at my apartment that night. 8 concerned faces gathered in my living room as Bree explained what she'd found. Can we fix it? Layla asked. Already did, Bree confirmed. I restored clean backups, but she doesn't know that. She's trying to discredit us, Owen realized. Make the launch fail, then blame our team's work. Classic destruction pattern, Donna added. She creates failure, uses it to justify eliminating us permanently, then rebuilds in her image after we're gone. I paced across the worn carpet of my apartment, thinking, we need to understand her endgame. This isn't just about cutting costs anymore. It never was, Kit said quietly. Check her history at previous companies. Same pattern. Eliminate innovative teams, restructure departments, then move on once short-term profits rise, but before long-term damage becomes obvious. But why? Yvette asked. What does she gain? Reputation, Tomas suggested. Each success makes her more valuable for the next company. I stopped pacing. No, there's something else. Raj, did you notice anything about which questions she asked? Any pattern? Raj thought for a moment. She was particularly interested in approval processes for external vendors. The pieces suddenly connected in my mind. The vendors for Winton. Who selected them? We interviewed 12 possibilities, Owen said. Recommended 3 to the board. They selected Next Level. And the other 2 finalists? Tellaris and Vanguard Systems. I opened my laptop, searching news articles from Gemma's previous companies. 3 restructurings, 3 different companies that subsequently contracted with the same technology provider, Vanguard Systems. There it is, I whispered. She's not just cutting teams, she's steering contracts. The room fell silent as implications sank in. If Winton fails, Bree said slowly, we'll need emergency services to fix it. And Gemma will recommend Vanguard, I concluded. A much larger contract than they would have received initially. We need proof, Raj insisted. This is a serious accusation. We'll get proof, I promised. But first, we need to protect Winton. We worked through the night, developing a strategy. By morning, we had a plan. Risky, complicated, but potentially effective. As dawn broke, Thomas voiced what everyone was thinking. If we're wrong about her, this could backfire badly. And if we're right, I countered, then she's even more dangerous than we thought, Layla said. Because she's not just cutting jobs, she's destroying companies from within. I looked at each team member, these people who'd become more than colleagues. Are we doing this? 8 nods answered me. That Monday, I requested a meeting with Gemma. She received me with cool professionalism, gesturing to the chair opposite her desk. I wanted to discuss Winton's final testing phase, I began. I've been reviewing the documentation, she replied. There are concerning gaps in the security protocols. That's actually why I'm here. The team identified potential vulnerabilities that require immediate attention. Interest flickered in her eyes. What sort of vulnerabilities? Critical ones. We need emergency support to address them before launch. In-house resources can't handle it? She asked, though I could see she already knew her preferred answer. Not with the timeline. We need external specialists. She nodded, tapping her pen against her notepad. I might have recommendations. We were hoping you would, I replied, maintaining a concerned expression. The board trusts your judgment on vendors. I'll prepare options by tomorrow, she said. This is exactly why companies need efficiency experts, to identify weaknesses before they become crises. As I left her office, my phone vibrated with a message from Bree. Access confirmed. Recording everything. The trap was set. Now we just needed Gemma to walk into it. The next morning, Gemma called me into her office. 3 vendor proposals sat on her desk, their logos visible on the cover pages. Next Level, Tellaris, and Vanguard Systems. I've reviewed potential emergency support options, she said, sliding Vanguard's proposal forward. This one offers the most comprehensive solution. I examined it, noting the extensive services list and eye-watering price tag. It's considerably more expensive than our initial budget. Quality costs, she replied smoothly. Would you rather save money or save the project? I trust your judgment, I said, watching her carefully. What's the process from here? I'll present this to Hugo today. Given the urgency, we should expect expedited approval. I nodded, keeping my expression neutral, while my heart raced. Will you need any supporting documentation from my team? No, she said quickly. I have everything required. Your team should focus on preparing for the transition. As I left her office, Owen messaged me. Security footage confirms midnight office access. 3 consecutive nights. Pieces were falling into place faster than expected. Gemma wasn't just steering contracts. She was actively manufacturing the crisis to justify them. By afternoon, Bree had more news. She's contacted Vanguard directly. Call traced to her personal phone, not office line. That evening, we gathered at Raj's apartment to review what we'd collected. Security footage showed Gemma accessing our project files at 1:27 a.m. when the building should have been empty. Email records revealed deleted communications with Vanguard dating back weeks before she identified problems with Winton. Financial analysis showed suspicious patterns at her previous companies, each hiring Vanguard shortly after restructuring. It's enough to raise serious questions, Raj said, but not conclusive proof of deliberate sabotage. We need more, I agreed. And we need it before Friday's emergency board meeting. Tomas looked up from his tablet. What if we give her exactly what she wants? What do you mean? Layla asked. Make it easy for her. Too easy. People get careless when they think they're winning. The plan crystallized from there. We would appear to stumble, creating an opening so tempting Gemma couldn't resist overreaching. Thursday morning, I entered Hugo's office with rehearsed anxiety. We've discovered critical issues with Winton, I told him. Multiple security vulnerabilities suddenly appearing in previously tested code. His eyebrows shot up. How is that possible? We're investigating, but launch is in serious jeopardy. Gemma suggested bringing in external support. Hugo frowned. That would blow the budget significantly. I know, but we may not have options. She's calling an emergency board meeting tomorrow to discuss solutions. I'll be there, he promised, concern etched across his face. Later that day, I made sure Gemma overheard me on a phone call, my voice deliberately stressed. We can't fix it internally, I said to no one. Too many corrupted files. Yes, I've told Hugo. No, we don't know how it happened. When I hung up, Gemma appeared in my doorway. Problems with Winton? She asked, poorly concealing her satisfaction. Major ones, I confirmed. The presentation files for tomorrow are in the shared drive if you need them for the meeting. That night, security cameras recorded Gemma entering the building at 11:42 p.m., heading straight to her office. As we predicted, she accessed the presentation files, making substantial edits. She then accessed our project database one final time. At 6 a.m., Bree confirmed. She took the bait, modified the demo files, and inserted additional errors. Everything recorded? I asked. Every keystroke, every file access, every phone call. By 9 a.m. Friday, the boardroom was filled with tension. Board members murmured among themselves as Gemma arranged her materials confidently at the head of the table. Hugo opened the meeting. We're here to discuss urgent issues with the Winton project. Gemma, you've been investigating? Gemma stood, projecting calm authority. Unfortunately, I've uncovered serious problems throughout the project. What began as minor concerns has revealed fundamental flaws in the development approach. She launched into a detailed presentation, highlighting numerous issues, some real, most fabricated, all allegedly stemming from my team's work. These aren't simple bugs, she explained. These are architectural failures that threaten the entire platform. Board members exchanged worried glances. Victoria leaned toward me, whispering, "Is this accurate?" I squeezed her hand under the table. "Wait," I whispered back. Gemma continued, building toward her solution. Given the timeline constraints and severity of issues, I recommend immediate intervention by external specialists. I vetted several options and identified the most qualified. She displayed Vanguard's proposal, highlighting their experience and immediate availability. Their comprehensive solution addresses all identified problems, though it requires budget adjustment. How significant an adjustment? Alistair asked. An additional $2.3 million, she stated calmly. The room erupted in concerned discussion. Gemma waited patiently, the picture of professional concern masking triumph. Hugo turned to me. Nora, what's your assessment? This was the moment everything hinged on. I stood slowly. Before responding, I'd like to run a quick demonstration. I connected my laptop to the projector. The screen displayed Winton's interface, sleek and functional. This is the actual current build of Winton as of this morning, I explained. I'll run a standard security test sequence. The system executed perfectly, security protocols engaging precisely as designed. Confusion spread across the boardroom. Gemma's expression hardened. That's impossible, she said. The reports clearly showed critical failures in those exact protocols. Those reports were modified, I stated simply, just as the project files were tampered with. The room fell silent. Serious accusation, Hugo said carefully. Do you have evidence? Comprehensive evidence, I confirmed, changing the display to show a split-screen security recording. The left side showed Gemma entering the building Wednesday night. The right side displayed her computer screen as she methodically altered test results and inserted malicious code into project files. What is this? Gemma demanded, her voice rising. This is footage from our security system and screen recording software, I explained. Standard protocol for all access to critical project files. I advanced to another clip. Gemma, on her personal phone. We've created the necessary problems, her recorded voice said clearly. The board will approve emergency intervention tomorrow. Yes, the full $2.3 million. Our usual arrangement for my consultation fee? The boardroom erupted in chaos. Gemma lunged for my laptop. This is fabricated, she shouted. They're trying to frame me. Security personnel entered, summoned by Hugo's discreet signal. That's not all, I continued calmly, despite my racing heart. We've compiled similar patterns from her previous 3 companies. In each case, departments were eliminated, emergencies discovered, and Vanguard systems brought in at premium rates. Raj distributed folders containing financial analysis, showing suspicious payments to offshore accounts following each Vanguard contract. These are kickbacks, he explained. Approximately 20% of each contract value routed through shell companies back to personal accounts. Jerome studied the documents, his expression grave. The pattern is undeniable. Gemma's professional facade completely collapsed. You set me up, she snarled at me. You created a trap. No, I replied evenly. We simply watched while you did exactly what you've done at 3 other companies. The difference is that this time, we were paying attention. Hugo stood. Security will escort you to clear your office, Gemma. The company lawyer is waiting to discuss next steps. As she was led away, still protesting, the tension in the room transformed into stunned silence. The Winton project was never at risk, was it? Hugo asked quietly. No, I confirmed. We identified her pattern early and protected the actual files. What she tampered with were duplicates. We created specifically to track her actions. Victoria shook her head in disbelief. How long has she been doing this? Based on our financial analysis, at least 4 years across multiple companies, Raj explained. Conservative estimate of total fraudulent contracts, $13.7 million. The meeting shifted from crisis management to recovery planning. As discussions continued, I watched my team, these 8 remarkable people who had saved the company yet again. After the meeting, Hugo pulled me aside. You could have brought this to me immediately, he said. Why the elaborate operation? We needed irrefutable evidence, I explained, and we needed to understand the full scope of what she was doing. He nodded slowly. The board has decided to create a permanent position for your team, with direct reporting lines to leadership. We're calling it the Strategic Integrity Division. Would you lead it? 3 weeks later, the Winton platform launched flawlessly. My team celebrated in our new office space, no longer a forgotten storage room, but a proper department with resources and recognition. The morning news reported Gemma's arrest on multiple fraud charges. Former companies were launching investigations into contracts she had arranged. As we toasted our success, I looked around at these 8 people who had become family. To seeing value in unexpected places, I said, raising my glass. And to leaders who actually look, Layla added, nodding toward me. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't dramatic confrontation. It's simply ensuring that truth becomes visible. Gemma believed in cutting people without understanding their worth. What she never realized was that true value isn't found on spreadsheets but in the connections, insights, and integrity of people who care deeply about their work. Her greatest mistake wasn't targeting my team. It was assuming we would go quietly. We didn't. And now she'll have years in a very different kind of office to reflect on that miscalculation. If you enjoyed this workplace revenge story, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of justice served with a side of strategic brilliance. Have you ever worked with someone who underestimated your value or tried to take credit for your work? Share your experience in the comments below. I read every single one and might feature your story in an upcoming video. Remember, sometimes the best response to being undervalued isn't leaving, but revealing your true worth when they least expect it.